what's up everybody, it is Kellen here from Start Your Systems, and welcome back to MX Simulator, where today we're going to be playing the replica track for the 2019 Daytona SX, round number 10 of the series for Monster Energy Supercross. Finally, we've made it to Daytona. It always feels like it's the halfway point. This time it's going to be, technically speaking, just past the halfway point of the season that we get to Daytona. Round 10 of the series, and pretty interesting weekend I feel like coming up for Supercross and all that business, but just wanted to touch on a few things here at the very beginning of the video before we dive into our usual real life discussion. You may have noticed that the channel has been like almost dead this week, and I just got home from work on Friday, so today, and you can tell I'm still under the weather, so I've just been sick all week, and every time I get off work anymore, it seems like I've come home and practically wanted to go right to sleep. So I apologize for not getting the videos out. I've just been exhausted this week and not been able to get the work done that I wanted to do. But probably the biggest thing that kind of was weird about the channel this week was obviously we normally have the live broadcast of the MX Simulator race that happens on Wednesday nights, and like that was 100% gonna happen, but unfortunately a scripting issue with the Race Factory Gaming guys. Something happened to their scripts when trying to load qualifying times, and so they couldn't even grab qualifying times or anything, and nobody was seeing their qualifying times, and nobody could tell what was going on. So they postponed the race, and we went live for about 10 minutes on Twitch on Wednesday night to inform everyone that the race was postponed and it's going to come at a later date. But obviously, if you've just been paying attention on YouTube and only watching the series via YouTube, you wouldn't have known that. So yeah, if you're looking for those broadcasts, Daytona will come at a later date. I'm imagining that the race will be moved to the off week in between, Easter break or whatever that they normally have, because there's one off week every year, and that's usually when it is. So I'm assuming that's when Daytona will be moved to, and we'll just jump ahead into the series. Next week I think is Indy or something like that. So we'll just be going right along into there. And yeah, so that was postponed. We still have the track to play, obviously, but that's kind of why if you haven't seen that come out on the channel, that totally would have been out on Thursday otherwise. And yeah, so let's talk about this upcoming race here at Daytona this weekend. I personally love Daytona, but I like it less than I used to. It's slowly become like just another Supercross race, unfortunately. Daytona used to be like this weird, out of the norm race, and it still kind of is, but to me it's almost kind of just turned into just like, I don't know, like a really ruddy Supercross, really ruddy or like kind of somewhat sandy Supercross. Whereas before, it used to be like legitimately kind of an outdoor race. Like it was like weird, hard packed, like clay jumps mixed in with like really soft sand and unorthodox rhythm lanes and sections and everything. Like now, as you can tell by this track layout, they're literally just building like a Supercross track on the Daytona infield. So that's why I don't really like it as much, because it's not like old school Daytona to me anymore. It's much more this like Supercross hybrid. Like this straightaway alone, like this is from one end of the stadium to the other, one end of the tri-oval to the other, basically is a straight rhythm. Like it's you'd probably be on the straightaway for 20 seconds in real life, just coming out of the corner, triple whoops, wall jump, and then this gator pit, and then there's like a rhythm lane, which actually this rhythm lane changed up a lot in itself on the real track, and then they go into a mogul section at the end of it. And then coming back the other way here, there is a rhythm lane at the start of this section, but it cuts off after maybe the 6 jumps, so like right in here somewhere it cuts off. And there's actually a Supercross triple right at the end of this rhythm lane now. So they already changed up a couple things on the track from the initial layout that Ricky showed us, whatever it was, a couple months ago. And then there was an updated layout that came out at the beginning of this week, and the Race Factory guys, I don't think, decided to update it to that one. But it was definitely different than the initial layout, and now that one itself looks completely different than the one that the updated layout was going to be. So they've changed the track around a lot. I'm not sure why. Sometimes it just happens, like when they get to the track, they start laying the dirt down and realize they either won't have enough dirt or have dirt in the wrong spot and things like that. So that's usually why we end up with these changes. But yeah, I mean, to me it just seems like another Supercross, really. Like it's going to be soft. It'll rut up. I think you'll see guys doing bigger rhythms towards the beginning of the race or towards the beginning of the day even than they will towards the end of the day. And I mean, the rest of it's kind of just stereotypical Daytona, rougher sections, deeper ruts, etc. But for the most part, like the biggest, challenge of it is that the lap time is longer. So I think people maybe don't get as in a groove per se because they can't hit the same lines over and over and over again for, they're 4 corners apart from hitting the same line. It's a lot of different changes throughout the race and things like that. So it's not a longer race anymore because it's just the 20 minutes and, 1 lap, but it still is very grueling, technical, challenging race that Daytona always provides. And it really seems to me like Daytona may be, for the first time in a long time, like one of the most crucial rounds of the series. We're at potentially like a really big crossroads with the series. Like if Webb comes out this weekend in the 450 class and has another just solid weekend, another solid race, even if he doesn't win, I think like even if Webb finishes on the podium, I'm probably aboard the Webb wagon at that point, because he's just been so solid, so steady that it almost seems like you're going to have a weirdo race like Daytona to throw him off his groove. And if, he finishes like 6th this weekend and Tomac, Roczen, and Musquin go 1, 2, 3, then I think chaos is about to hit the fan. But if Webb just has a regular weekend again, what else are they going to throw at him? What else is going to be different? I guess like the biggest question mark going down towards the end of the series is we're going to Seattle pretty early. We're going to Denver. We're going to East Rutherford. All these races could potentially be mud or even like snow races, given the nature of our winters that we've had here in the United States this year. So that could throw a wrench in the plans down the stretch for Webb. But this is kind of the biggest hurdle in his way at the moment, is this wacko, out of the norm Supercross race, essentially. Now that being said, I did say that, this is more Supercrossy than Daytona's ever been, I feel like. But it is still Daytona, and weird things happen at Daytona. Stewart cartwheeling a bunch of times, Ricky going off for the track into the banners, like weird things happen. Chad Reed blowing up his clutch late in the race and his bike expired. Anything could happen at Daytona, and sometimes it usually does. So this may be the last big opportunity that a Tomac or a Musquin or a Roczen has to claw some big points back in their favor. And at some point, I like Musquin or Roczen need to just get a win. Like, this is ridiculous. We're at round 10. They're still in the championship hunt, so that's like good for their sake, but they haven't won a race yet. Like, they need to win and like assert themselves as like actual championship contenders, because right now they're just like, they're here. Like, they're getting good finishes, but are they really championship contenders? They're not even winning races. Like, I almost feel like Tomac, in that sense, is more of a championship contender than those guys, and he's behind them in points because he keeps having these bad races. But like Roczen and Musquin, yeah, they've been consistent, and that's kind of like been the MO of late anyway, is like, have a Dungey year and you'll end up winning the championship. But Webb's out here winning races, guys. Like, time to step up to the plate and actually win some yourself, or this thing is out, going to get out of reach in a hurry. So like, do I see Roczen or Musquin winning this weekend? Honestly, no. I feel that this track, this layout, Daytona, etc., is a Webb or Tomac type of track, or maybe even a Baggett could get in there. Obviously, Brayton was the like weird winner of last year. I don't see that happening again. But with the way Baggett's been riding, with the way Webb's been riding, and the way we know Tomac can ride, I almost feel like it has to be one of those three. Now, things could happen. One of those three could crash. Marvin could end up getting the whole shot and, getting an early lead and getting in a groove and getting away, or the same thing for Roczen. But if they all start near the front, I have to believe that that's where it'll end up going this weekend, is Baggett, Baggett, Webb, or Tomac, walking through. Even if they get a 7th place start, they'll get up to the front. And like the only thing that I could see this really turning in the favor of Tomac or Roczen or Musquin this weekend is Webb having a crash or a mechanical, because I just don't see him A, getting a bad start, and B, if he does get a bad start, not finding a way to finish close to, if not on the podium at Daytona, just with the way he's been riding lately, with his skills on outdoor tracks in general. Like, that sounds like a recipe for success for Webb, despite this being maybe one of the more crucial races in the series for him. So that's how I see it shaking down. I think Tomac needs to win badly, so I think he's going to ride his balls off this weekend for sure, and maybe we'll see a dominating Eli performance that we normally see out of him this weekend, and kind of get his championship mode back on track. But I think if Tomac comes out this weekend, has another bad start, has another weird race, has another 6th place finish, I'm done. Like, I'm saying Tomac doesn't win the championship this year if that happens. We're still 7 rounds from the end after Daytona, and I would say that you can't come back from that. Like, Tomac has dug himself a big enough hole. If he keeps grabbing the shovel and digging it deeper, it's over. So that would be my big kind of prediction for the weekend, is Tomac's either going to win or eliminate himself from the championship, essentially. Like, that's how I kind of feel it's going to shake down for him. I think Webb's just going to have a solid weekend. I don't envision him trying his nuts off to win the race. But maybe he does. I don't know. Webb's never really been in a 450 championship scenario before, so maybe he hasn't quite gotten the mojo settled in yet, that he's now in a pretty good spot if he can kind of take this thing easy down the stretch to maybe just kind of milk home this championship. Technically speaking, if he wins the championship this year, he'll have won more races this season than, Anderson did to win his championship last year, or Dungey did to win his championship the year before. So Webb's already in a great position in that sense, but it's more about the consistency down the stretch that I think he's got to worry about, at least in my opinion. A couple of the storylines to hit on real quick in the 450 class before jumping into the 250 class is Justin Barcia is out again this weekend, so that concussion that he suffered before last week's race at Atlanta that kept him out from Atlanta is apparently keeping him out of this weekend as well. Some people have said, and by some people I mean Daniel Blair on his Main Event Moto podcast, that supposedly this is a bigger deal than most people or really anybody is led on to believe so far. Like, we saw how bad it was with Millsaps getting a concussion, and Barcia ended up filling in for Millsaps, and Millsaps then retired because he couldn't come back from the concussion. I'm not saying it's that level, but we know how concussions can be. Like, they can be, long time sideline deals for some people, and hopefully that's not the case with Barcia. Hopefully he gets back out here soon, but I feel like if he doesn't get back out racing within the next couple of weeks, it'd almost be better for factory Yamaha to shut him down until outdoors and get him ready for the outdoors, at least in my opinion. But definitely out this weekend again, so we'll have to see what happens when we get to Indy and whether or not he's going to be out again. And with Barcia going out, a new incomer to the 450 class, at least just for Daytona, and I'm assuming that's the only race he'll race in the 450 class, I should say, not even on a 450, is Shane McElrath. He's going to make his 450 class debut on a 250F, which is weird. I think that's maybe just his way of staying fresh on the 250F, is racing the 450 guys and all that. But Daytona's a weird spot to do it to me, because if he's trying to say, I'm in a title hunt, I should use the opposite coast as a place to keep myself fresh and whatnot. It's weird that A, he's choosing to stay on a 250F and be underpowered, but I kind of get that if he's trying to stay fresh on the 250F, and B, do it at Daytona, which is maybe the most one-off random race of the year anyways. So we saw J Mart jump up and ride a factory Honda at Daytona, but that to me made more sense than anything, just because they needed a fill-in for Kenny, and J Mart made sense at the time, and I think he continued to race for them afterwards anyway. I don't know, this move for Shane, it feels weird to me, but I think he can do pretty well, even being on a 250F. I see him probably not getting into the top 10, but you know, maybe hovering around that early in the race and then fading back to around 15th or so. Like on this track, more than anything, I feel like a 450F does you favors. But yeah, I don't know. That was an interesting like move for me to see. I know that some guys have raced the 450 class on a 250F before, but they usually do it because like they're not on a factory team and the only bike they have is a 250F. So to see McElrath have like probably the ability to ride like a full-fledged factory KTM 450 or even a factory KTM 350 and continue to stay on his 250F was like kind of strange to me. But we'll see how he does. That'll be kind of exciting to watch and keep an eye on him this weekend. And speaking of the 250s and the 250 class, I mean, it's just Forkner. Like, I can't slice it any other way. Like, Forkner is going to need to crash in the first corner to not win one of these races, I feel like, because he can run like a consistent pace that it seems like Sexton, Cooper, Jordan Smith, who is out, by the way, I think for the rest of the season. It was announced that he's out for the rest of the season. Mitchell Falk is definitely out for the rest of the season. I think he has a broken wrist. But anyway, Justin Cooper, Chase Sexton, they like have to push to get to the level that Austin Forkner is like comfortable riding at. And that's like a really good spot for Forkner to be in because he doesn't have to break his level of comfort to find that next zone to beat them. He can just be like normal Austin Forkner and still win races. So can they win races against him? Yeah, sure. But I mean, we saw last week Sexton started with Forkner and ended up way behind him at the end of the race. So like when you come to Daytona, it's more grueling. Fitness matters a little bit more. Like, I don't know. This sounds like a Forkner race on every side of the cards to me. Unless he crashes off the start or crashes during the race at some point, which really he hasn't done much of this year. He gets good starts and he stays off the ground in the races. In the qualifying, he likes to crash a lot, but in the races, he's been pretty good. So I got Forkner. I would say, shoot, I don't know, flip a coin. Probably Sexton second, Cooper third. And then, yeah, just a gaggle of other things going on behind that. Who the heck knows? There could be a lot of different things that are going on back there. But it's going to be a fun race to watch for sure. You know, Daytona's always, at the very least, it's different. It's finally like, you know, it's not a stadium. It's outdoors. It's longer rhythm lanes. Like, it's unique in that sense. Like, we always rant and rave about Glendale and how big the stadium floor is and how long the rhythm lanes they can build is. Well, here you go. They have like basically the longest, you know, end-to-end floor space that they can use all season long, and they literally used it. They built like by far one of the longest straightaways in Supercross history. And yeah, that's going to be kind of interesting to see how that plays out. So I'm looking forward to Daytona this weekend. And again, I apologize that I haven't been able to get the content out this week, guys, but we'll get back to a regular scheduled program next week once I'm feeling a little bit better. Hopefully I can take this weekend to sleep in a little bit, relax a little bit, and yeah, go into next week feeling a little bit better. So hope you guys enjoy watching the race this weekend. I'll be watching as always, and you can follow me on Twitter at Kellen Brower if you guys want to join in on the fun chatting about the race as it's going on with me. And we'll catch you guys next week on all of our videos, and we'll discuss what happened at Daytona next week as well. So thanks again for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. So long for now.